Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
That's fantastic. My name is Dave Schmidtlein. I'm Dean of MIT's Sloan School of Management. Welcome to the MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, A Decade of Data. I'm very grateful to our sponsors for making this event possible. I'm grateful to the speakers and panelists. If they don't come, it's not the great event that it's been through the years, and many of those speakers have come for multiple years now. I'm grateful to the MIT Sloan students who have played such an extraordinary role this year and each year in pulling off one of the largest conferences anywhere on any topic. It's really been a very extraordinary ride. I'm also grateful to friends who share the stage with me this morning. Jessica Gelman is Vice President of Customer Marketing and Strategy for the Kraft Sports Group, and Daryl Morey is the General Manager of the Houston Rockets. This conference was and continues to be a product of their vision and their energy. They were the founding co-sponsors of this conference, and they've played such an extraordinary role in its development. I also want to express appreciation for the student leaders of this conference. Amal Mapani and Clint Marchese are here as well, and you'll hear from them in a few minutes. I won't do the long version of the history of this conference. This is the 10th year of it. And I think for those of you who have been coming for multiple years, or even if you haven't, you have an extraordinary opportunity in looking around to see a bit of the history of sports analytics, but also business analytics and data analytics more broadly. This conference 10 years ago started in a classroom on the MIT campus with about 100 attendees. That's just 10 years ago. This is what an idea whose time has come looks like. So you see the extraordinary growth in interest in sports analytics, but you can see more than that. If you look at the program, you see how the use of analytics has broadened out across the range of sports. You see how the volume of data has grown by multiple orders of magnitude. You see how the sophistication of the analytics has changed with respect to cutting-edge statistical, machine learning, artificial intelligence methods. Those will all be on display here at this event. You also see some other changes. So in terms of the profile of attendees and sponsors, you see a participation here from great sports-oriented firms, and we're very grateful to have their support and their sponsorship. But you also see the engagement of services firms, consulting firms, financial firms, human capital firms. As sports enterprises themselves have become more sophisticated in how they manage themselves, it's very natural for those global leaders in these areas to gather around those firms and to gather around this conference. You can also see another element of change over this time. Sports analytics has spawned new sub-industries and new enterprises. And so you see people from the world of venture capital feeling the need to be right here to see what's next. Wow.
Everyone okay?
Had to see, I'm almost finished. Had to see what's, yeah, I know. And so moving right along, you also see some changes in other kinds of firms that have chosen to gather around this. Firms that are marketing firms that manage customer relationships, not necessarily in the sports area, are learning about those relationships from the distinctive kinds of expertise that sports businesses are building. So for all of those reasons and more, I hope that you have an extraordinarily great experience at this 10th anniversary of this conference. We have an even greater program lined up for the 11th anniversary, right? And we hope that this is something that you'll make a regular portion of your experience. Now, I want to turn the microphone over to Daryl Morey, General Manager of the Houston Rockets.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Dean, and thank you to MIT Sloan for the support over the years. Without that, obviously, we're nowhere, so very appreciated. I wanted to go back a little farther, tell an origin story. They're doing pretty well. I think Deadpool's about to make $1 billion, so we're going to go with the origin story here. So it started as the dean mentioned, and we've had a lot of fun looking back, actually, Jessica and I, with all the students. In a class, Jessica and I were teaching a class at MIT. We fooled them into letting us teach it, even though we didn't really feel like we knew much. And it was cool. I looked back last night. There were 39 students. One of the students who got an A, Doug Fearing, has gone on to he's the head of R&D for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He arguably is the top analytics baseball firm right now. We had Brian Scalabrine, current NBA player, was one of our guest speakers. He wasn't a student. I don't know how he did done. He self-described himself as the MIT of the NBA. So we'll see. He's back this year for the first time as a speaker and as a panelist. So we're all looking forward to the White Mamba. I think that's there. I think that's what he called.
Self-described.
Also self-described, yeah. So he's very colorful. The second class assignment of the class was pretty interesting because our next panel. So we assigned them to read Moneyball. I think most of the students pretended to read it because it's a long book if you're a business student. But we assigned that. Lots of folks got A's on that one. So we were teaching this class, and then somehow Mr. Leslie Alexander, my owner in Houston, somehow we had a terrible year at the Celtics. Somehow plucked me out of obscurity, which was I'll always be grateful to. And he said, this class thing you're teaching, it's going to be hard to fly from Houston to Boston like 10 times. So Jessica and I were talking and said, hey, let's turn this into a conference. And before we know it, we're here today, which is amazing. That first conference, I'm not going to go, Jessica's going to touch on it, but I do want to paint one picture. It was in classrooms, as you mentioned, but it was in the infinite corridor. No one could find anything. We had balloons like breadcrumbs to go to the different rooms, and one of the ones was called Personnel Decisions. It had Sam Presti. When you walked in the room, there was about 20 people. It had Sam Presti, who was with the Spurs, went on to now run Oklahoma City, and it had Bill James in there, had put his email address on the board, and talked about how the conference, even then, was like the culmination of his work, which was pretty special to us. I don't want to focus too much on it, but Jessica's going to. Let's talk about what's next. And that obviously, we're looking back the last 10 years, the decade of data. What's next? I don't know what's next. If I knew it, but I do know that what's next is here. And we can look at the history to see that. So our research papers, which is now in its 6th year, I think, has had groundbreaking research, including the first use of prior adjusted plus minus in the NBA, which is now one of the leading ways of evaluating players. You can get that like as real plus minus on ESPN now. That was first introduced here. We had the first esports panel 5 years ago, I think. Sundance DiGiovanni went on to sell his company to Activision for a lot of money, and then the COO of Twitch went on to sell that company for $1 billion to Amazon. So esports is also being featured this year again, and a big growth area. So again, you won't know where it is. It could be a research paper. It could be a competitive advantage talk. It could be one of the panelists. But as you can hear, people have launched careers. People have launched ideas here. In terms of launching careers, I wanted to mention one of our organizers, Evan Wash. He went on to be one of the senior folks at the NBA. And he did me a solid this year because the Celtics play the Rockets tonight in Boston. He actually he's part of the team that works on putting together the new schedule for the NBA. So I like to think he flipped a bit somewhere and made this happen for us. So, and I want to close with, actually, I'm stealing one of Bill James's lines when he was here a couple of years ago. He said, really the thing of this conference, I think it makes it special when I talk to people, is the buzz of the young people, the buzz of the new. And he said, you're going to see lots of old people on stage, but it's the young folks who are here who are going to change the world. And I really believe that. Jessica.
Good job, Daryl.
Thanks.
Welcome to our 10th anniversary. I have goosebumps looking out at this stage. It's unbelievable. So as we have talked a little bit about, we had 175 folks at that first conference. It was freezing. It was in February. Thankfully, we moved it back. We also called it the MIT Sloan Sports Business Conference.
I do remember.
So thankfully, we rebranded it. And this year, we have more speakers than we had attendees, which is incredible. So as we think about this year's conference, and in honor of our 10th anniversary, we supersized the conference. So we have 20% more attendees, 25% more panels, and 157% more competitive advantage talks. And we're introducing this year industry-led workshops. So just for a little bit of perspective, there are 3,900 people at the conference this year, which I think blows all of our minds. And there's 130 teams and leagues that are represented, including every NBA team, 80% of the NFL teams, and 70% of the MLB and NHL. We have 32 different countries that are here at the conference this year, which, again, mind-boggling, and 320 colleges and universities. And I think as we think about the conference, Daryl kind of alluded to the panels. We have 32 of those this year, and our first panel, it is very fitting that the Moneyball reunion panel kicks us off, because that really is what brought analytics to the popular kind of conscious. So we're excited for that to start right after here. But again, for us, our roots are really in education and in innovation. And so the research papers, check those out. Our startup competition and trade show is phenomenal. We have our first pitch business case competition, and then yesterday we had our second inaugural ESPN hackathon. So there's a lot going on. Please check everything out. There's obviously a lot of lure to the panel rooms, but check everything else out. Kind of my final things, I want to do a couple thank yous. First and foremost, to our 24 sponsors. We have been able to grow and keep the cost of this conference low because of our sponsors. ESPN has been the presenting sponsor for 6 years. Thank you to them. That's what initially allowed us to move off of the MIT campus and come here. Second, I want to thank Daryl for being my partner in geekiness. And obviously, Daryl is a visionary, and what he has brought to the NBA and the innovative way of thinking, I think it's really awesome to see, and all the NBA teams here is really, really a credit to you. And then last, but certainly not least, I want to thank the students. We have 65 students, and they have been killing it, working their butts off. And I mean, it's incredible to have this kind of growth. It takes a year of planning. I don't know if you guys have slept in the past week. But so Clint and Amal are the student leads, and they've done a really great job of managing the complexity of all the new things that we've added and the growth that we've had. I also do want to give a quick shout out to the over 300 students who have been involved over the past 10 years in building the conference. A lot of you guys are here tonight, so today. Thank you so much for coming back, and enjoy the show. Have a great time the next 2 days.
So first off, welcome. Welcome to the 10th annual MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference. We know many of you have traveled far and wide, so we really do appreciate all of you being here. My name is Clint Marchese. I'm a second-year MIT Sloan student and one of the conference co-leads this year. I wish I quantified how many hours it actually took to put into making this incredible conference. As some of you may know, the student leads change over every year. And without our conference co-chairs, Jessica Gelman and Daryl Morey, this conference would be nothing. So Jess and Daryl, on behalf of all of the student organizers, thank you so much. The last 12 months have truly been amazing. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you, so thank you both very much. And would also like to thank the 65 student organizers that Jessica mentioned. The work that they've done behind the scenes, it's been amazing to watch. Specifically want to thank the 12 student leads, Amanda Lurie, Ben Bohr, Cha-Chu Wu, Jackie Mole, Jess Kim, Jill Mezzanotte, Kate Barnard, Kyle Gerby, Lawrence Lau, Matt Cardoso, Matt Carlin, and Mike McMillan. You guys have been rock stars. Thank you all very much for what you've done. sport has the remarkable ability to cross cultural divides and create an almost nuanced and newfound patriotism. And analytics empowers this. Not only does it improve the product on the field, but allows teams to better connect with fans and fans to better connect with each other. It truly unites complete strangers, from the casual observer to the stark crazed face painter, to the graduate student, to the C-level industry executive. We're all here because of our love for sport. This conference 10 years ago in the MIT classroom really started this analytic revolution. And it's been incredible to see the growth, not only of this conference, but of analytics within the industry. So over the next 2 years, as we look forward at new technologies and new innovations, we invite you to take a look back at the 10 years of SSAC. And please look at our exhibit outside of Panel Room C. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. My name's Amal Mapani, and I'm the other co-lead. I'm very excited and grateful to be here. Many of us on the organizing team, the main reason we chose MIT Sloan was for this conference, so it's extremely humbling to be here in front of all of you today. In addition to our team, we'd like to thank Dean Schmidtlein, our family, our friends, and the broader Sloan community. Without all of them, none of this would be possible. We'd also like to thank, as Jess had mentioned, our 24 sponsors who put so much time and effort into making this what it is. In addition to ESPN, we'd also like to thank Ticketmaster, Zebra, Wasserman, Catapult, MLB Advanced Media, Booz Allen Hamilton, Ropes and Gray, StubHub, CDW, Charles River Associates, Intel, Core, Opta US, Click, Ticket Manager, NASCAR, Vert, Deloitte, Gracenote, Kitman Labs, IBM, Korn Ferry, and Morgan Stanley. Thank you. They have all been extremely wonderful supporters of the conference, and we would really recommend checking out some of their booths on the second floor that are highlighting the newest innovations in sport, technology, and analytics. Every year, we aim to push the limits of analytics and sports, and this year is no different. As Jess had mentioned, we have the introduction of workshops, we have more panels, competitive advantage talks, so please take advantage of all these opportunities on the second and third floor of the conference area. Before we switch over to our first Moneyball panel for the day, we'd like to cover some logistics. With over 3,900 attendees this year, a lot of these rooms will get packed, so please, when you enter, come to the center and then move out for seating. Also, for the most up-to-date conference information, please go ahead and download our mobile app. You can find it on our Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Search for Guidebook, and then download MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference 2016. On that app, you can find the most updated schedule, speakers, as well as the Q&A functionality for our panels. This year, the Q&A will be run through Twitter, so please, for each panel, use the panel-specific hashtag, which can be found in the app and on the screens during the panel, as well as hashtag SSAC16. You can also do research paper voting in this app to highlight the top research paper poster, which will then receive an award on Saturday. The last thing we'd like to mention is that filming is strictly prohibited during the panels. Please, however, tweet, Instagram, post pictures, and quotes from the conference. And then lastly, please silence any cell phones during the panels. We're very grateful to have our panelists here, so please enjoy the panel, and then during breaks, go on your phone. With that, thank you again for joining us for our 10th annual celebration, and we're very excited to celebrate this conference with you. Thank you.
Moneyball reunion.
Yes.